Okay, should be recording. I'm not sure everybody knows me. I don't work in the central region, so there wouldn't be a reason for you to know me unless you've been in one of my Zoom meetings. My name's Mike Stanley. I work for the Information Technology Services Group here on the Knoxville campus. Um, I'm part of UTIA proper. I guess I'm sort of funded by all four of the units, so I'm not exactly extension or not exactly ag research. I just kind of work with everybody. Um, Brad asked me to jump in and help him out with this group here, and I'm excited to do that. I'm going to pull my iPad over. I'll be showing it to you on the screen here. I have an iPad Air 2, and I really, really like it. Let me get it up on my screen here. Okay. Share. Okay. So let me do that again there. Just so you can see this pretty boy here. That's my son. His name is Spencer. But unlike my iPad, um, what you did not see there, by the way, is me typing in a key code. It's not that I don't have one, but because I have the iPad Air 2, I actually have Touch ID, which is pretty cool. I don't know if any of you have that on your iPads or if you have a newer iPhone, but it's really nice and convenient. Um, this is my iPad, and I can see that you see it on the screen there. Can I just get a nod from everybody to make sure you're seeing it? Okay. All right. Um, we can talk about more general stuff later, but for right now, I'm going to jump right into Microsoft Office. Um, Microsoft released Office on the iPad, I think, earlier this year, um, and it's great. You can actually use a lot of it for free. We, as employees in the university, can use all of the functionality for free. Technically, it requires an active Office 365 subscription, which we all have. And that's one of the things that you have to do the first time you run it. You'll be prompted to sign in. And what you'll use when you sign in is the same information you would use to sign into your email, which is your NetID at utk.edu and your NetID password. Before I jump into this, I'm going to go ahead and forgot to do this. I'm going to disable the sleep timer on here because I don't want anything to go to sleep on me. So auto lock is going to be never. Okay. All right, so we're back here to Office. Um, Office on the iPad is basically 3 apps, although I'm going to talk about a fourth when we're done. It's Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. They are fully functional. Um, One of the great things about them is I'm running Word here. Um, you have access to documents on your iPad. You can access documents on OneDrive, the personal version, or OneDrive for Business. You can access documents on Dropbox. I actually have 3 different OneDrive accounts here because I'm kind of a nerd. I have multiple OneDrive accounts, and I have my Dropbox account configured. Um, so I don't have to have documents on my iPad at all. I can use cloud services to store and work with my documents. So what I'm going to do is just drill here. I'm using my OneDrive Personal. This is where I keep a lot of my work documents. I actually have copies on both of these because I'm kind of paranoid about um, losing data. I'm going to go into my work folder, go into documentation, and let me pick something interesting. This is a document I did after the last iPad Learning Group. This is a how-to for accessing Iris via Apps at UT, which is an online system that UTK has. You can see that it had to download my document there because it was stored in the cloud. And here I have Word. I've got most of the features that you would expect from Word. Got multiple toolbars up here. I can, if I wanted to, I could start editing this document, but I'll just show it to you. I've got, it basically looks on the iPad the same way it does on a PC. scroll all the way through. It's loading some of the images um, as it gets to the bottom. If I wanted to start editing that, I can just tap on it, brings up an on-screen keyboard. Um, and I can edit it. And the great thing about it is it saves it automatically. As soon as I leave the app, it'll be saved. Um, I can hit, that's because autosave is on. I can do other things here. I could print if I had an air, I think Apple calls it AirPrint. If I had a capable printer here, I could do that, but I typically don't print from my iPad. But the great thing about working with documents on your iPad via a cloud service like OneDrive is that I can switch right over to my PC or my Mac and edit those same documents there. So I can take my work with me wherever I go. Um, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you. I'm doing a live demo here. I hadn't planned on doing this, but I might as well show you that it can work and show you that things aren't always perfect if it doesn't work. So I'm going to stop the screen share and then just share my desktop. Okay. You can actually see my iPad in the background there because I've got an app running here that shows my iPad on the screen. I'm going to run Word. It'll launch here in just a second. There we go. Forgot that I patched Word yesterday, so it has to show me something. Go into my recent documents, and here's something really cool. Because I'm signed in with my Microsoft account, Word already knows that I edited that document on my iPad because it's my most recent document there. I can double click on that, downloads it, and here you can see it on my Mac. Looks exactly the way it does on my iPad. It would look exactly the same to you on a PC. And we can get all the way to the bottom, and we can see that there is some text that I edited. I'm going to bold that and make it highlighted, and then resave it, and then quit. And now I'm going to bring back up my iPad. I'll go back into, let me just switch folders here so it'll reload the folders. Documentation, reload my document. And there's my change. Well, it jumped to the top again, but there's my change. It's pretty cool. Um, I have used Word on the iPad to type really long documents. I won't claim that I really enjoy typing on the screen that much, but the great thing about the iPad is you can use a Bluetooth keyboard with it, and I can type as quickly on that as I do on my real keyboard from my desktop. So that's Word for the iPad. PowerPoint and Excel work basically the same way. In fact, I haven't run those yet, or I haven't actively used them yet. So I wanted to show you how easy it is to add. Some of you may use Dropbox. I'm going to show you how easy it is to add Dropbox or another storage service to one of the Office apps on your iPad. You just click Add a Place. You can do OneDrive, OneDrive for Business, Dropbox, or SharePoint, and I'll show you access to a SharePoint site with Excel here in a minute. You go to Dropbox. It asks me on my iPad, are you sure you want to open Dropbox? And yes, I do. Dropbox will then ask me if I want to allow PowerPoint to use it. I say I do. It politely asks me if I want to go back to PowerPoint. Yes, I do. And right there, you can see that it's loaded my Dropbox account. And I think I probably have, let me see here, probably have a presentation or two in here. Yeah, there's a PowerPoint presentation I did 2+ years ago, just sitting there on my Dropbox. And it looks just the same as it would on a PC. In fact, if I want to go ahead and present, which is another really neat thing, if you have to go out and present on the road and you don't want to lug a laptop with you, you could just bring your iPad. So I'll start the slideshow here. And the great thing about PowerPoint on the iPad is you can just swipe through the slides. So you can use those. You can actually use the iPad as a kind of a remote. I can flip through the slides with my finger, just swiping through them. PowerPoint on the iPad, I think, is great. Break out of, can go into presenter mode if I really wanted to. Go ahead and break out of my slideshow there. I'm not going to go too deep into PowerPoint or Excel. That they basically work the same way you would expect them to from the versions on the PC or the Mac. Okay. I'm going to run Excel and show you that I have a SharePoint site configured on here. In fact, I probably have multiple SharePoint sites. This is our team site. We store a lot of our documents here because we really preach SharePoint as a great way to collaborate. I actually had to restore my iPad the other day and I hadn't signed in here yet because I wanted to show you guys what it takes to sign in. So I'm going to sign in to my account here. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second so I can type my password in. Go back to sharing. Takes it a minute to load up the documents, but once it does, I'll be able to load all of the Excel files or anything else that I have on there. Here's an Excel file I worked on a few months ago, loading it right off of SharePoint. This document is not stored on my iPad. I can just look at it if I want. If I want to go ahead and edit it or enable editing, I just click the edit button. And then I can make live changes to the document, and anybody using SharePoint would be able to see those on their end. So basically, my main takeaway for Office on the Mac is, or Office on the iPad is, it works the same way as Office on your computer. It's fully functional. I'm not a heavy Office user. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've never found anything that I can't do on the iPad that I can do on a real PC or Mac. Okay. Are there any questions about Office before I skip over to another app that is still technically part of Office, but not listed that way? And feel free to ask those over the meeting and remember, everybody is muted, so you would need to unmute yourself. Or if you want to ask it in chat, you can do that. Okay. I'll go ahead and move on to OneNote. OneNote is one of my favorite applications. In fact, if I couldn't do OneNote on a Mac, I would probably switch completely over to the PC just to be able to use OneNote. It's that useful. This is my OneNote file. It's one of the many OneNote notebooks that I keep. Wanted to show you, this is how I keep track of my tasks. I've got a lot of stuff there that I need to get to. OneNote syncs between your PC and your iPad just fine, just like your Office documents do. If you're not using OneNote, you really ought to check it out. It's free. Even if we didn't have Office 365, OneNote itself is free now. So you can use that to, I don't know, keep notes on anything. I keep notes. I'm trying to use my mouse here because I see it on my computer screen. I keep notes for all of my projects. I've got a huge archive of a lot of other stuff. Once I stop working on something, I stick it in my archive. Um, Meeting notes, video conferencing, anything that I have to work on, I do. I just cleaned up my scratch notes the other day. That's why you don't see much in there. Um, Basically, a lot of my work life lives in OneNote, much more so than it does in email or anything else. Um, can't speak highly enough about OneNote. Wanted to show you very quickly um, just how good the OneNote syncing is also. Share OneNote with you. Here we go. So there's OneNote, same file you were looking at before. I'm going to add a new to-do list up here, or to-do item up here. Uh, there we go. Gonna tell it to sync and stop sharing, and then switch over to my iPad. And because I need it to sync immediately, it's not going to, but I'm going to switch pages, and it still didn't sync, but I can actually go in and tell it to sync the notebook up here manually, and it'll pop in. There we go. So OneNote's great. You don't have to just take notes with it like I use it for. I use it to do my to-do list. I know people who manage all of their communications with OneNote. Any questions on OneNote before I move on? Okay. The next item on our agenda was group app recommendations. I'm going to ask you guys for recommendations first. I have a couple of my own, but I wanted to see if anybody else joining has any recommendations, apps that they really find useful, whether it's to be more efficient in their work, or frankly, if it's an app that you enjoy using personally. Feel free to unmute and let us know, or tell us in chat. And I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. If you don't feel like sharing, that's fine. I'll show you mine. Okay. So just on my home screen here, I have a few apps that I can recommend. Some of these are free, some of them are paid. I don't really mind paying for apps on my iPad. I don't think I've ever spent more than $10 on an app, and most of them are either $1 to $3. If you do Twitter, which some of you may, the Twitter client itself, the one that Twitter makes, is fine. I actually prefer an app called Tweetbot. That's I think it's just a lot more efficient for doing a lot of Twitter work with. Haven't screened my tweets here, so I don't know what people are saying. If anybody says anything inappropriate, just ignore it. I like Tweetbot a lot. I probably use Tweetbot as much on my phone and iPad as I do any other app, especially outside of work time. But I even do quite a bit of stuff for work via Twitter, reaching out to companies to get support, or communicating with other colleagues at other universities to talk about products that we work with. I think Twitter's a great service, and I think Tweetbot is a great client. Can show you, lists that I have. You can search. I mean, it's just a great full-featured client. So that's one. If you use Twitter, Tweetbot is something to check out. It is a paid app. I think it's $5 right now. I think it's normally 10. They just came out with a new version. Um, I also use an app called Byword because as much as I use Word to edit Word documents for work, I do a lot of writing outside of work and frankly, a lot of writing for work that I just don't want it to be as heavy as using Word. And I want to be able to use the text in the document because most of what I write is text. So I work with a text editor called Byword. Um, Byword is great. You can have it sync your documents via iCloud or Dropbox. I choose to use Dropbox. I've got a folder here with different items in it, things that I write creatively, things I write for both of my blogs. Um, and you can see these are the posts that I've written that I end up posting. Like this is one for my food blog. It's just a nice distraction-free editor. I think Byword also costs a couple of dollars. It's not free, but I think it's well worth it. Um, if I were to go for 3 apps, the Zoom client is great. That's kind of an easy one to point people to. You're in a Zoom meeting now, so you obviously know about Zoom and you use it. Zoom works awesomely on the iPad, works great on the iPhone, works great on Android, but the iPad app itself is really good. In fact, I know people who have set up Zoom on an iPad and run in a meeting and then piped the video from the iPad out to a conference room TV just to use it as kind of a Polycom system on the cheap. Um, so I think Zoom on the iPad is great as well. Outlook, I'm going to run the risk of jumping into my email and hoping that nothing's going to blow up when I do it. Of course, it's asking me to log in, so I'll go ahead and turn off sharing real quick so I can do that. Whether you have an iPhone or an iPad, Outlook is a great app. Of course, mine is going to take a minute to sync. There we go. Outlook's great. It's made by Microsoft. They actually bought a company that made this email program. It was called something else before that. And it was so awesome. It was the best. It was the best email client you could get for Exchange and Office 365 on iOS or Android. So Microsoft bought the company and just renamed the app Outlook. It's that good. Um, I I really love Outlook on the Mac or on the iPad here. And it's free. It used to be a paid app, now it's free. Um, that's it for my recommendations. I'm going to give everybody else a chance to jump in with a recommendation, and then I guess we'll move on to incorporating iPad into your daily life. Okay. Um, I guess I'll just talk about how I use the iPad in my daily life, and it's going to be a little weird um, doing that because I was actually willing to give up my iPad earlier this week, um, and I think I've changed my mind on that. Um, I've used an iPad since the original iPad came out, and I've owned an iPad 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, an Air, and an Air 2. I have a wife and a son, so whenever a new one comes out, we typically get it and we trickle down to the next person. We had, I think the 4 was the unfortunate one that got shattered. So our son has a 3, my wife has an Air, and I have an Air 2. And really the only reason why I have the new one, because my wife is a much heavier iPad user than I've ever been, is because I was using the 4 uh, and it got shattered. We fixed it and then it stopped working right. So my wife said it was okay for me to get a 2. Um, I take the iPad everywhere. I read on my iPad. I have the Kindle app on my iPad. Um, I read websites on my iPad. I do Twitter on my iPad. Um, Email is probably the most important thing that I do for work on my iPad. Email and Zoom meetings. Um, it's especially, I think, once the iPad Air came out, and then especially the 2, because the 2 is so much faster than the iPad Air. They're really powerful little computers to hold in your hands, and they're so light, and you can take them anywhere. And if you're willing to lug along a little Bluetooth keyboard, you can really do serious work with an iPad. Um, I don't take a keyboard with me most of the time because I don't mind just typing out 10 or 20 words for an email response. But I have taken a Bluetooth keyboard and sat in meetings for 4 or 6 hours, taking notes and doing real work, just like I would on a computer. My wife puts me to shame. She basically, when our son was born 3.5 years ago, she stopped using her desktop computer at home. She switched almost completely over to her iPad, and she's still there. She takes it everywhere with her at work. She takes it everywhere with her at home. Um, she basically runs her life on her iPad in a way that I don't think I could, because I still prefer having a big screen and a mouse and a keyboard for serious work. But she does everything. Um, would anyone else like to comment on how they're incorporating the iPad into their daily lives? I'm going to try to activate split screen here. I told Brad I would demo that feature, but I'm not an expert at it. So I'm going to have to try it for a minute. So I'm going to load an app here. Let me get back to seeing this on my screen. iOS 9 incorporates some multitasking features um, that allow you to do multiple apps at once. All apps don't support it yet, but quite a few do. You can do two types of multitasking. You can do what's called slide over, where you can have two apps running at once. So like if you need to just look something up quickly, you can just slide in from the right and get a selection of apps at first, and it'll bring it up in a little pane there on the right. It's kind of nice, especially if you need to just check something really quick, copy something out of here. I'll show you that. You can select, hit copy, come over here and paste it right into this document. It's really nice for that. Um, the new iPad Air 2 also supports split screen. And let me see if I can make mine do that. Not all apps support split screen, so I might not be able to. In fact, I probably ought to just give up and run two Apple apps. Let me run my email here. And then Safari. Okay, there we go. We've got two apps here on the screen, just like you can on a computer. Um, I'm not going to tell you that I've done this a ton. Um, I can see certain use cases for it, especially if you're working on a document on this side and you need to have a web page up for you to copy information out of over here. I can see it being pretty useful for that. I'll be honest, I'm 45 years old. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. I don't know that I want to give up the already relatively small screen on the iPad to split it up in two, but if it works for you, uh, great. Well, that's our split screen demo. Um, I think I'm wrapping up a little early here, but I'm sure everyone will appreciate a chance to get to lunch early or to get on with your day. If you have any questions, feel free to ask now. You can always reach out to me afterwards. My email address is poet, P-O-E-T, at utk.edu. Happy to take any questions now, or you can shoot me questions offline. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about here? I don't want to leave any questions unanswered, but I know folks are busy, and figure if we can wrap up right at 30 minutes, that'll let you get back to your day. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share here. Appreciate you showing up. Hope you found the information useful, and look forward to seeing you as a participant next time. You're very welcome. I got a couple of thank yous here. You're very welcome. And I do mean it. Shoot me an email anytime if you have any questions. I'm not an iPad expert. I'm just a user just like you, but I'm really looking forward to these meetings and learning more as we go along. Have a good day, everybody.